Greetings and welcome back to Old Ways Rising Farm YouTube channel, where we're talking about wax. So this is paste wax wood finish. It's a very nice finish. I especially like it for any kind of tool handle because I specifically don't like thick film finishes on my tool handles. I think they're just a little too slidey, so either you're having to death grip it all the time, or if you're not death gripping it, it's sliding around just ever so little, and that likes to rub blisters on my hands. So I much prefer an oil or wax-based finish, and I do like to put wax on it, especially on something like this, which is, very open grain ash, because I want a solid to fill in those pores so that they're not absorbing moisture and grime and whatnot. So you don't want the pores on your tool handle to be full of whatnot. So we're going to fill them up with wax. Now, this paste wax, you can just go and buy this, of course. But it's also very, very easy to make. It only has 3 ingredients, and there's a very good chance, if you're a woodworker, that you already have those 3 ingredients on hand. For this, I'm using linseed oil, beeswax, and a little bit of turpentine. Okay? Very easy to do. There's a little bit of an order because you don't want to have turpentine all in the mixture while you're heating it up to melt the beeswax, but very easy to manage that. Okay? So if you'd like to make your own paste wax, come along and I'll show you how. Now the recipe for paste wax is very, very simple. There's just 3 things in it. First is beeswax. Now you can use a pelletized beeswax like this, in which case it's very easy to measure by volume. Okay. Now, because these pellets are large and they don't stack particularly dense, you want a heaping volume of this as compared to a liquid, but it's easy to measure by volume. You can also just cut a chunk off of a block of hard beeswax, and that's exactly the same. You will use a weight measurement. But because all of these things are fairly similar in density, it's not that big of a deal whether you use a weight or a volume measurement. It's all going to be about the same. And we want half beeswax. Okay? Now, 2 parts beeswax. I used 4 of these. This is a 1/8 cup measure, so I have a half a cup of beeswax granules in there. The next thing, and 1/4 of the total volume of this concoction, is linseed oil. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 of these. Very carefully to not make a very nasty mess. Okay, so we have half a cup of beeswax and 1/4 of a cup of linseed oil. So there we have our 1/4 cup of linseed oil in our half a cup of beeswax. Now that's never going to properly dissolve just like that. It needs a little help. So we are going to heat it up. And the safest way to heat it up is with a double boil arrangement. Now you can go and get all sorts of fancy double boilers. You don't need them. We just need a small pot. We're putting our canning jar of stuff to melt in there. And what's going to happen is that since the water can only get so hot, and it's until it starts to dissipate heat by steam, it will regulate how hot this gets, so we don't run the risk of igniting our oil. If we just take something that is oily and therefore very highly combustible and put it directly onto a very hot burner, you can have very big problems. But having our wax and oil inside of a container, a secondary container full of water, that water will regulate the temperature and prevent bad things from happening. Okay? So, we will warm this up until it all melts. Okay, that's all melted, and here is our 3rd ingredient. So we're going to put a 1/4 cup of turpentine into the mix. Now I'm doing this after everything has been heated and melted, because I don't want to just boil away the turpentine. That would be sad. Okay, close that all up. Set that on over there. Give it a good stir with our fancy handy dandy stir stick. There you go. You can see what we got. That is 1 cup of nice paste wax. But it's not really a paste yet. It's got to cool. So, again, we don't want all our turpentine to evaporate. Okie dokie, it's the next morning, and let's play with our concoction. So there you go. It's all solidified, nice. Let's see what it does. So what we want is a material that at the end of the day is going to leave a hard wax film on our piece. If you put enough of the linseed oil in to accomplish that, it won't all soak into the wood and it will stay sticky. Okay, so that's why we have the turpentine. The turpentine also helps the linseed oil harden a little bit. So we want to smear this on, have the majority of the linseed oil soak into the wood and harden over time, and then have the solvent evaporate so that it can be buffed off. So let's see how this works. So I'm just going to take a napkin here. And I like to do this with a napkin because anything that has linseed oil in it is a potential spontaneous combustion risk if handled wrong. Okay, and any kind of cloth that gets soaked in it and then held in a confined space is handling it wrong. So I like to do this with paper, and then as soon as I'm done, I walk right over and I put it in either a fireplace or a burn barrel and just let it burn. Problem solved. Okay? So that's why I like to use disposable things for this. So we want to rub a good coat of this in. It's not going to look shiny yet. Okay? You want to fill up all of the pores. This is especially important when you're doing a handle that's made out of something like ash. Okay. Nice and smeared. It doesn't have to be super thick. Just there. And we'll do this cherry one. A little chilly in here by the window. It's a little harder than if it was a nice warm summer day. Yeah, linseed oil is always a risky thing when it soaks a rag of any sort. Having it full of turpentine doesn't make that better. So, there you go. They have a nice film of wax on them. And these already had 1 coat of just straight linseed oil prior. Okay? So now we let the turpentine evaporate out, dispose of this safely, and then we'll look at buffing them. These have been going, it's mid-afternoon. I put the wax on this morning, and we're going to go buff it off. Now, picking the right timing to buff it off is a little bit of a trial and error sort of thing. If you wait too long and you get too much hardening of the linseed oil combined with too much evaporation of the turpentine, it gets so hard it can be very difficult to buff off. It's not the end of all things. You can just dip a corner of a cloth in turpentine and wipe it off and do it again. It's not like you ruined your project, but you don't want to be doing things again that you don't have to do again. Likewise, if you do it too soon, you'll just wipe it all off and you won't get, a buffed shine. So this one is kind of, you won't be able to see this in the camera, but it's sort of the point at which it feels a little bit greasy, but you can't just plow the wax away with your finger. This is the best way I can describe it. It's just kind of a by feel. That one's perfect. This one, that side's good. That side could maybe use another hour, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway. So we take our cloth or our paper towel and just vigorously buff it. Now, one of the nice things about linseed oil and paste wax as a finish is that it's refreshable. Okay? So if something happens to it, if it gets messed up, if it gets dirty, yeah, that worked about perfectly. Okay? Then you set it aside to harden the rest of the way. If something messes it up, if it gets dirty, if it gets scratched, if it gets, messed up in any way, you can just do it again. Right? There will never be a point at which you can't remove the little bit of film that exists with some turpentine or any similar paint thinner and just do it again. The other nice thing is it doesn't give you, for tools that are held in the hand, it doesn't just eat your hands up and blister the way really hard urethane type finishes, film finishes I should say. It doesn't give you blisters the way film finishes do. Right? So it's softer, more organic, nicer in the hand. Okay? One little sticky spot yet. Okay? And then if you want more shine, let that harden all the way. And then if you want more shine, do it again. But while it's not a thick film finish that's going to tend toward blistering, we have absolutely filled up all of the pores with nice wax so they don't fill up with dirt. And it gives it some protection. And, for most tools that you're going to hold in the hand, every time you use the tool, you're re-oiling it from your hand's oils, and it will kind of just naturally burnish and take its own polish over time. So you don't really need to worry about that. Plus, it's very inexpensive to make. You can, make a little bit, and that'll last you a very long time. And it doesn't change the color of the wood any at all. So it will make it look a little bit wet and a little satin gloss, but it won't change the color the way some commercial finishes just are naturally colored in and of themselves. And, they'll alter it, shift it, usually in the yellow direction. This won't shift it in the yellow direction at all. It lets the true color of the wood shine through and the natural patina develop. So I really like it. It's a nice finish. Try it. Make your own stuff. You absolutely can. This is not complicated chemistry. You can make your own stuff. And if you're enjoying this content and want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon. We are unsponsored, so I am free to have my own opinions and tell you what I like and what I don't like. And if you want to help us and help us keep teaching these things and help keep it sponsor-free, we are so grateful for all of our patrons. And there's a lot of wonderful rewards for you there as well. So, hope to see you there, but either way, I hope we'll see you here next time at Old Ways Rising Farm.